When we started our church in 1990 in Escondido, I saw another Reformed Baptist organization, and it really showed me the benefits of fellowship among churches that could maintain their independence, work together in missions, and even have some identity beyond the local church. And so I became interested in potentially our church being a part of that or something like that.
Well, I was a lonely pastor wanting more fellowship, being an independent pastor in the South in a denominational context. I was longing for fellowship, and I believed in associationalism from my studies of historic particular Baptist belief ecclesiologically. And when I realized that there was nothing in the striking distance unless it was a charismatic church, because around here independent churches are typically, even Bible church names are charismatic, I looked elsewhere.
Over several years I realized that there was some narrowness to that group that we wouldn't quite fit in. I also noticed that I would come to the conferences and about half the people there were people who never quite made the grade to join the group.
Well, most of the guys in the Reformed Baptist movement that I was abreast of before I came here, there was a lot of cranky Calvinists.
And so I started writing, probably in the mid-90s thing, a proposal for a different kind of association. We're standing on the shoulders of the good things they were doing, but trying to create something that was flatter, more of a network than a denomination, no authority, no money.
And I thought, well, that guy Jim Newheiser, pastor Grace Bible Church in Escondido, I'll give him a call, see if he knows anything about association I might be able to be a part of. I reached out to him, shared my vision, found out he had the same vision of, in fact, he had already written out a constitution and bylaws.
I tinkered with that for years, and then Jerry called me in 98 or 99, and we started talking, and somehow we got onto the subject of associational fellowship, and what had been percolating in my mind, and I mean, I'd been writing outlines and plans for years. Jerry was the guy, well, let's start, and was very much pushing it. I would have never done that, so it was a catalyst working together with an agent or something.
But he had a name that he preferred my name, Fire. And so we agreed to that, and then we put our heads together and then planned an exploratory meeting at his church.
When we had the first conference in Escondido, it was a preliminary meeting, and then we did one in Audubon Drive here in Laurel, we did one in Ohio, and just invited churches in our orbit to come and see if they would like this kind of association.
And then about 6 months later, we had a meeting in Cincinnati, then we formed in Chicago in 2000.
But I would credit Jerry a lot. I would still, 30 years later, I would still be trying to perfect my outline of what an association should be like.
We weren't interested in just having conferences. We wanted to be able to build relationships for the long term for the health of Christ Church, especially in proclaiming the true Gospels.
The generation of us that started Fire, that was before the mega conferences like Gospel Coalition and Together for the Gospel were going. It really was something people were yearning for, this kind of fellowship.
Well, the fellowship, Jim and I were all both about networking. We wanted to find all the guys out there who wanted to support Calvinistic missionaries but didn't know where to find them. The independent, we really meant interdependent. We're independent in our freedom and liberty of conscience, right, but we're interdependent in that we need each other to co-labor together.
And I think even as we've had Fire now for 20-something years, people in the church really are happy to know we're not the only church on earth that believes these things. There are 100 other churches that have some of the same distinctives.
And then Reform, what we meant by that was not just the doctrines of grace, 5 points of Calvinism, we meant the 5 solas, mainly the 5 solas. All that reached a culmination in the evangel, the good news. We wanted to see churches that were evangelistic. They all were global, optimistic, world missions minded, and we felt at the end of our gathering it ought to lead to world missions.
One of the great benefits of Fire, there were many missionaries sent by the collective efforts of the churches that would not have been able to raise the resources in their own local church. There also have been churches planted, and so we want to be churches that are not hyper-Calvinistic, but that we want to see people converted, we want to see missionaries sent out, we want to see churches established.
Again, Fire, I think, was rightly birthed by a guy who wanted ministerial fellowship around a gracious, loving, God-centered perspective that wouldn't be cranky and judgmental and combative.
Some have had denominational or associational experiences where it's been divisive, it's been, what are we going to argue about this year? And they come here and they see the warmth. They see a pastor up there weeping over hardship in his churches and people coming around and weeping with him and praying for him. And I think many of the people who come would say they've never experienced anything like that. And so I think if you don't believe me, come. And I think you will find something different than in any other meeting I've been in.